today I'm going to show you how to create current leads to your coil with the path group called attach. So let's start from a fresh example, from a fresh model actually. We create a simple racetrack coil and I'm going to split it so that I have access to the path and to the cross section that are inside of it. So this would be the cross section and this the path. I'm going to make it slightly smaller because I want to turn this into a cable. Because when I have a cable, I can connect the current leads to it nicely. So I right click on the path rectangle and I first make a cable out of it. I select like 5 turns and the distance between the turns should be bigger than the cross section, right? So in this case, we have 15 millimeter in the normal direction for the cross section. So I made the distance between the turns. It should be at least 15 because then they are exactly touching. But I make them 25 so that we can see a bit of space in between. There is a wiggle here. You can change that by setting the incrementation incremented number of sections. So the coil is split into sections. So if we go to view and we unselect combined sections, we see these lines here, right? And so the section at which the increment starts is currently the first section, 0. If I set it to 1, the increment will actually be made in the corner, and that usually looks nicer, or at least the straight section of the racetrack will be straight. And it's doing that by making a Bezier spline. And the Bezier spline is calculated based on how many orders you do the expansion of the Bezier spline, basically. So if you change this, you see that actually the shape changes here. I usually leave it to 3. 2 actually in this case also looks like nice, but you know, you can play with the settings there. What I wanted to show today is how to create current leads. So let's go into that. So we have our racetrack cable model. And now I want to attach a current lead here and a current lead there. So I right click on the cable, which is our path in this case. And I create a group called attachment. And now there's nothing yet except for our cables. So we need to add something else, for instance, an arc. And this arc will be attached to our cable, as you see here. So this is how you make a simple, super simple current lead. Obviously, you can play with that because I want to also have a current lead there. But I also want to maybe have the current lead coming out of the coil in the other plane. So I make a transverse bend, right? Now it comes down. I change the angle of the arc. So it goes up and I can make the radius of the arc bigger. This just works as a normal arc with, if I go to view and toggle mesh, you can see there's a lot of elements here, so I make them slightly bigger so that they match with the here we have a 10 millimeter element size, so now it matches with the racetrack element size. So that's one current lead. Now I also want to have a current lead on the other side, so I go to attach again, I right click on it and I add another section, another arc, but that arc will basically be added there because the order in which the 3 objects we attach are here matters. So first there's the cable, then there's the first arc, then there's the last arc. So if I want to change this into being the first current lead, I need to put it before the cable. So there is this tool swap thing. So you can swap and then it moves up, but I use my keyboard. You see there's this bracket in the tools here showing, and if you just press on your keyboard with the bracket, it will move up. And you see that now this arc, the one with the non-transverse bend, is moved there. So if I transverse, excuse me, right, that one is connected to the first current lead, and the one with the transverse bend is now connected to the last one. So I can swap those if I wanted, but or I can make this one the transverse and the other one the non-transverse. So this is how you can make current leads, and you can still continue to add sections. So if I add a straight section there, I can make it even longer. I can make the straight section longer. I can play with the arc, you know, if I want to not have minus 90 but minus 45, then the current lead comes out like that. So you can play with these settings to make the current lead come out in the way you desire. There's one last important thing in this attach, and that is the order. There's only one setting. These are all not settings of the attach group. These are all from our other pieces. In the path attach, there's just the name and the fixed index. So which path in all these paths in your attachment group are the one that stays fixed. And the reason for that I can show you with this, with axes. So I draw here the orientation axis. This one is drawn on 0, 0, and then you have Z, X and Y, like in the orientation axis of the viewport. And you see now that the coil is nicely centered around the origin of your axes. If I change this to index 1, in fact, we now move everything such that the first path in the attached group is actually on the origin. And this may be a bit confusing. So normally, well, this could be not what you want. It could also be what you're looking for, but normally I think you want to just have your actual coil oriented around the central origin of the system. So that's how you change that. You can also move it like this. And then you see, because the orientation has changed, this path is actually in the origin. So that means that this arc over here starts at 0, 0, and it's in the XY plane, because that's how we define the origin. And that means that because this coil is also still in the XY plane, it's actually cutting in there. So that's probably not what you want. But then you can either move back to fixing the coil in that plane, or if you do want to make sure that this is the origin, like we're doing here, then obviously you can also just change the minus sign here such that it's bending in the other direction, or you can make a transverse bend as well so that it's bending out of plane. Anyway, this is how you make current leads, and this is the end of the tutorial. Bye bye!